All right, sorry about that. Let's continue.
Yeah, so on the question of how nodes are dealt with when they stop responding, I don't know it's a complete answer, but there is a section of the node, and I'm just repeating, sorry for those of you who, heard it pre-recording. There is a section of cloud provider interface call that is made in node lifecycle when it stops responding to heartbeats and has basically been marked as not responding. We make a call to see, is it still part of the cloud provider called us if it's still part of the cluster, and if not, at that point it gets deleted. And in fact, that's one of those work items I have on my list as something that needs to be moved out of node lifecycle.
Mm-hmm. I am familiar with the code you're talking about. Have you been, looking at the recent changes that have been going on around the node shutdown, taints, and status?
No, clearly I need to.
So what's happening is there's a change going on where if a node gets shut down, if it has a volume on it, the volume cannot be removed.
Yeah, this is
after the cloud provider removes the node, because in order to remove the volume, the kubelet needs to say the volume is not in use, and the kubelet doesn't exist anymore because the cloud provider has removed this node itself from the API.
Yep, this is the persistent volume claim problems.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking with one or two folks over on our side about that.
Mm-hmm. So it's almost already fixed. There's some bugs in the fix which I'm helping Jesse Haka, the person who's implementing, do it right. But we need people to go and implement. So he's added a new API to the cloud provider interface called node shutdown in cloud provider. And that needs to be filled in for the different cloud providers.
Makes sense. Just for my information, what is the difference between node shutdown and node exists in? I assume that they are subtly different.
Right. Node shutdown is where you shut it down for like maintenance purposes. Node exists in is where you check if the node has been terminated or not. Where termination is where it's been deleted from the cloud itself.
Okay, so the idea is shutdown can then be reversed and come back alive.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's the idea. So I've pasted the. Let me paste it again. I know this one, Zoom chat doesn't show older comments sometimes. So I'm going to paste that pull request again, and it's 60,009, and that's the ongoing work. For that work is where we need people to help contribute to fill in that interface for various cloud providers. And Rob, in that piece of code is where, in that interface is where I think it's different for GKE versus AWS, where in AWS you terminate it, and in GKE, Walter can speak to it, I think. When we remove a node, I'm not entirely sure. So when a node is shut down in GKE, does it get what's the status of the node in the GKE API? Is it marked not ready or something?
It used to be it was marked not ready, and so actually, so the issue now remembering a little bit more. The issue is that AWS, when it does its listing of nodes to see if they are available in the cloud, does a filter, and it filters on only running instances. So that's why when a node gets shut down in AWS, you get this triggered of it getting removed. Like the cloud provider will remove it because it thinks it's no longer part of the cloud because AWS is not telling it it's a valid instance anymore.
Got it. So that's a bug.
Well, that's the thing, right? There's a long-standing issue that I logged about this, and it's gotten bogged down in some quagmire because it now becomes a question of what is the same node, right? If you shut down an AWS instance and you bring it back up, how do you determine that this is the same node? And there's been, generally it seems like most people are in favor, from what I saw, of having a shutdown instance act the way that GKE treats it, which is if you shut it down, it just goes to not ready in the cluster rather than being deleted.
Got it. And that explains the whole difference in behavior between different clouds.
Yeah.
Where GKE doesn't say it's gone.
Let me go see if I can find that issue I logged way back when.
That's actually an important issue to talk about. So, Rob, what are your thoughts on what is the right way to do this?
I like the way GKE does it. In my opinion, if you shut down a node, but you're not terminating it. If you're shutting down a cloud instance, it should go to not ready in Kubernetes. It shouldn't get deleted. And then when you shut down the instance, you remove it from the actual physical instance. You can't restart it back up again. Then Kubernetes should remove it from its cluster. That's my opinion. Let me go see if I can find this thing.
So that behavior. The only problem is it's not explicit. Like the semantics of it kind of gets lost in translation there, because I think that behavior is right in the practical sense, but more from a since we're this is going to be an interface that many different clouds are going to be implementing. We should be really clear about the semantics of what each thing means.
Yep.
And
so
practically what you said makes sense.
So I posted in the chat the two issues. The first one that I posted is the long-standing bigger issue of how to commonly handle stopped instances. And the second one I posted is the kind of the root cause of what caused all this, which is that some of them are filtering on running status. It's from a admin perspective, right? If I shut down a node for maintenance or something like that, I wouldn't necessarily want it to be removed from Kubernetes cluster.
Right, that makes sense.
Now, making that all function sanely may not be easy.
I think it's important to come up with a really clear node lifecycle model.
Yep.
I think that's what will fix it. Because if you think about it, if we clearly define what is running state versus stopped state versus deleted state, this problem wouldn't exist. Right?
If you have a clear, you're saying if you have a clear definition of what each one of those is?
Yeah, so running would be where it's running and functional and part of the cluster. Stopped is where it's shut down but not deleted, and removed is where it's actually removed from the cloud.
Yep.
I would agree with that. I realize it's a silly naming thing, but the one thing we may want to think, if it's not too late, is to use suspended rather than shut down. I think it better conveys the state.
It really does. Yes, I like that.
Yep. No, it's not too late for anything because there's no progress on this. This is an old issue that, as far as I know, there's been some discussion on, but never went anywhere.
Rob, can you, if it's okay with you, could you maybe reopen this issue? Well, when I say reopen, create a new issue talking about also link in that 60,009 PR, the pull request whose number is 60,009. I'll also help push it where we go for more universal node lifecycle, because I think it's important. And you see, now a person has added a pull request specifically for node shutdown. Probably new states are going to get added later, and then it'll be
we can either log a new one, or we can tag on to the existing 46.442 one and try to get discussion back going on there, because there are some people that have popped in, right? I mean, the different cloud providers certainly all work differently, and I know this specific issue has got a number of people watching it. I've poked a number of people at it, so hopefully there should be enough, people from the different cloud providers that are knowledgeable at how they do things. It might not be a bad idea just to use the existing ones so that we get notifications to the people that know how their clouds are acting.
Okay, that sounds good too.
Yeah, I think continuing the conversation that already exists for background state and previous comments is a better plan.
Okay.
So if you want, I can kind of try to re-ping this PR, add you to it, and link in the 60,009 issue and see what people are thinking about it.
Right, absolutely. I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be nice if Nick Turner from AWS is here right now. Should probably ping him. Walter, do you have any thoughts about this coming from GCE?
No, although I'm actually been in the process of trying to take some of the stuff we need done on Node lifecycle and hand it off to the appropriate GCE engineer. So I want to check on this, but everything seems reasonable and good, and I definitely think we want to do it.
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
Do we know what Nick Turner's GitHub handle is? I can add him to the existing issue.
NCKT.
Okay. Nicholas Turner. Okay.
Wait, that's his Slack handle. Let me look on GitHub.
Well, there was a Nicholas Turner that did pick up a Nicholas Turner.
Okay, that's probably him.
Hopefully.
Yeah, NCK Turner. That's his handle.
Okay, that's what I got.
Perfect. So Rob, will you be working on the node lifecycle then?
I would like to be able to, but I know I'm kind of bogged down at least until March.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, let's just start with the issue, see where it goes, and go from there.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So we have 3 more minutes. I want to quickly provide some updates from people I've been just checking up with. One is Josh Horowitz from Oracle has been helping out a lot with our group. He is waiting for the finalizer PR to get landed, and then he's going to be fixing. There's a race condition, the service controller that we brought up about 2 months ago. And he's going to get back to it after he gets the finalizer support into 1.11. Other than that, Caleb Miles has added the appropriate documentation for who owns what and what are the requirements for a new cloud provider to become a cloud controller manager in the Kubernetes repository. And other than that, we have just one more thing going on, which is end-to-end tests. Daniel, do you have an update on that?
Oh, actually, yeah. So basically, last week I reported that I still have the issue that I need to create nodes in the cloud inside of my tests. Mm-hmm. And last week I got provided a link to the test grid stuff to see if that helps me. But while that's interesting, the test grid stuff, I don't think that it really helps me, because what the test grid stuff does is it provisions me the infrastructure and the cluster on top. And what I need to do is I need to add the node inside of my test. And while I got that to work in a very simple PLC with OpenStack, the bigger issue, in my opinion, is that what we basically need is some kind of very small utility library that can create nodes or maybe also other stuff on top of all the different clouds that want to support the Cloud Controller Manager.
I don't have
or
you,
at least, yeah.
Sorry. Have you looked at something called the virtual kubelet?
Not really. Do you have a link on that?
I haven't really looked into it too much, but from what I understand, it simulates a node, I think, on any cloud. So, you can run tests.
Okay, that might be interesting.
So you can actually provision nodes. The other option is quickly, Jago, can we get a simple API for creating nodes on this test cluster that we can operate on? Is Jago still around?
Yeah, but the single test cluster won't help us because these tests need to run on all the clouds that we want to test.
Okay. So
we need code that basically looks at the provider of the tests, no matter what cloud it is, and figures out against which cloud it has to run the node creation.
Okay. So let's follow up on this offline, Daniel. Time is up. Walter, I want to follow up with you on, do you know if anything is happening with the CSI work?
When you say this, yes. So I know as far as I can tell, every one of the major, or at least Azure and AWS said they were doing stuff. I've got someone committed in the Google side to be doing stuff on CSI for the GCEPD.
Okay.
So I'm hoping by the end of 1.11 that we'll start having some of these CSI plugins landing and hopefully have something to run them in.
Sounds good. Okay, sounds good. So we're not doing Flex, right?
Far as I know, we're not doing Flex.
Okay, sounds good. All right, that sounds good. Thank you everyone for joining today. I'll follow up with you, Daniel, offline, and Rob, I'll follow up with you once you make the comment on that pull request. Was 46.422? Was that it?
Yeah, I just made the comment.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Talk to you all next week. Bye.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.